The United States is reinforcing its presence in the Caribbean with the deployment of warships, stealth F-35 fighter jets, and thousands of Marines. Although officially framed as a counter-narcotics operation, analysts believe the move signals preparations for a potential broader military campaign against Venezuela. U.S. joint naval and air units have now occupied strategic positions across the region. In Puerto Rico, for instance, 10 F-35A Lightning II jets have been stationed. As fifth-generation fighters, they are capable of reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and precision strikes. Their presence gives Washington the option to directly target radars, air bases, and infrastructure tied to both cartel networks and Venezuela's defenses. At sea, 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, the USS Jason Dunham, USS Gravely, and USS Sampson, are operating in waters close to Venezuela. Equipped with hundreds of vertical launch cells, these vessels can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles, air defense systems, and anti-submarine weapons. The fleet is further reinforced by the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, carrying more than 4,500 Marines, AV-8B Harrier II jets, MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft, and utility helicopters for rapid amphibious operations. In addition, the USS Lake Erie cruiser, the USS Minneapolis-St. Paul littoral combat ship, and a nuclear-powered submarine operating silently in the Caribbean bolster the formation. Collectively, these assets give the U.S. near total control over the region's sea and airspace. From the skies, P-8 Poseidon patrol aircraft and MQ-9 Reaper drones conduct constant reconnaissance missions. Real-time intelligence from these assets is believed to feed directly into potential land or naval strike planning. U.S. Special Operations Forces have also been detected on board vessels and at key points on the ground, reportedly tasked with missions ranging from capturing cartel leaders to sabotaging facilities protected by the Venezuelan military. On land, U.S. logistical hubs in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands have been expanded. Ammunition depots, command centers, and mobile fuel stations are now active, supporting the possibility of sustained operations. This infrastructure enables Washington to execute multi-domain missions without relying solely on mainland bases. This large-scale move follows a classified directive signed by the U.S. President in July, authorizing the use of force against narco-terrorist networks in Latin America. The directive also opened the door to cross-border strikes against governments accused of sheltering such groups, including Nicolás Maduro's regime in Caracas. Although no formal declaration of war has been issued, the current force configuration closely mirrors pre-intervention patterns in previous U.S. military campaigns. If orders are given, initial targets would likely include Venezuela's air defense systems, radar installations, and naval bases on the Paria Peninsula. A maritime and aerial blockade is already in effect to restrict narcotics trafficking. But with advanced strike assets now in place, the mission clearly goes beyond simple interdiction. Washington enjoys full flexibility, ranging from limited precision strikes to a long-term military campaign. The massive buildup in the Caribbean marks a shift in Washington's approach toward Caracas. The key question is whether the operation will remain framed as counter-narcotics or evolve into an effort to shake the political and military foundations of Maduro's government. What is certain is that the American circle of combat readiness around Venezuela is tightening by the day. The U.S. naval deployment in the Caribbean is now the largest military show of force in the region since the 1989 Panama invasion. With warships, stealth jets, and full marine units in place, analysts describe the formation as a ready-to-launch intervention package that could be activated at any moment. In an official statement, the Pentagon maintained that the mission falls under enhancing regional security, without specifying long-term objectives. However, U.S. military sources cited by American media suggested the deployment is part of contingency planning, in case tensions with Venezuela escalate. Analysts consider the presence of 10 F-35s in Puerto Rico to be the most strategic element. These fifth-generation jets can penetrate modern air defenses and conduct precision strikes against high-value targets. This is not just about counter-narcotics patrols. The presence of F-35s signals that the U.S. is prepared to neutralize Venezuela's defense systems at any time, said a Latin American defense analyst. Additionally, Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers off Venezuela's coast carry more than 90 missiles each in their vertical launch systems. This gives Washington long-range strike options with Tomahawk missiles, which could be directed against strategic military installations in Caracas or major coastal bases. Overall, the massive U.S. deployment in the Caribbean clearly marks a new chapter in its standoff with Venezuela. With a mix of guided missile destroyers, nuclear submarines, stealth F-35 jets, and thousands of Marines, Washington now possesses a fully operational combat configuration ready for action at any time. Although officially packaged as a counter-narcotics mission, the scope and composition of forces send a powerful signal that the U.S. is preparing far broader military options. Venezuela has responded by raising its alert level, while Caracas's allies condemned Washington's actions as interventionist. Looking ahead, the Caribbean situation is likely to remain clouded by uncertainty. Whether the deployment ends as a show of force to pressure Caracas at the diplomatic table or escalates into open military intervention will largely depend on political decisions in Washington and the response from Nicolas Maduro's government. What is certain is that America's circle of combat readiness is now tightening around Venezuela, turning the Caribbean into one of the world's most closely watched geopolitical flashpoints.